So last time we saw the second declension. So as of now, we know that the first declension, what is the case? Feminine. Second declension has masculine as well as neuter. So now, when we come to the adjectives, we see that primarily there are two groups. Okay, so what we'll look today is the first group, which focuses on the first and second declension. So, as we all know, adjectives describes the noun. Okay, for example, the singing birds or beautiful, etc. So now in Latin, when we see, we have all three. You have the masculine, you have the feminine, and you have the neuter. So when we look at the adjectives, we see that the adjectives has to agree to the noun with regards to gender, number, as well as case. Okay, so these things have to be kept in mind. So what we'll do is, we'll just take an example. Okay, before that, let us do a quick revision. So what will be the endings in the first declension? You had A, AE, AE for the dative singular, then AM for the accusative, A for the ablative. Then when we come to the plural, AE, arum, genitive plural, then is for dative plural, us for accusative plural, and is for the ablative plural. Now let's go to the second declension, masculine. So nominative singular would be ending with us, then genitive I, dative singular o, accusative singular and ablative singular o. When it comes to the plural, you have I, then genitive plural is orum, then dative is accusative plural os and ablative plural is. Again, let's take a look at the neuter as well. So nominative singular ending would be um, genitive singular I, then dative singular o, accusative singular um and ablative singular o. Then nominative plural a, genitive plural orum, dative plural is, accusative plural a and ablative plural is. Now this chart of all these three will be very useful when we are doing the adjectives. So let us try to do the first one. Let's take bonus, bona, bonum, which means good. Now in the dictionary, it will be given in this particular format. Okay, so you have masculine, feminine, neuter. So this will be translated as bonus, bona, bonum. So now let us try to see if we can solve this. Okay, so let's decline. What would be the nominative singular for bonus? Nominative singular bonus would be bonus, genitive singular boni, dative singular bono, accusative singular would be bonum, ablative singular would be bono. Then when it comes to the plural, nominative plural would be once again boni, genitive plural bonorum, dative plural bonis, accusative would be bonos and ablative plural would be bonis. Let's take a look at the feminine. So you have bona, genitive singular bone, dative singular bone, accusative singular bonum, and ablative singular bona. When we come to the plural, nominative plural would be bone, genitive plural bonarum, dative plural bonis, accusative plural bonas, and ablative plural bonis. Similarly, when we come to the neuter, bonum for the nominative singular, genitive singular would be boni, then dative bono, accusative bonum, and dative singular bono. When we come to the plural, nominative plural is bona, then you have bonorum, genitive plural, bonis in the dative plural, bona, accusative plural, and bonis in the ablative plural. So once again we see these endings are important. Any doubts with this so far? Yeah. So that means this is the first group of adjectives which focuses on the first and second declension. There is also one more group where you have the third declension coming in. But for the time being, just keep this in mind. So basically it is what we have already done. It is only putting it in the adjective form. So the masculine will take the second declension masculine, feminine takes the first declension, and the neuter takes the second declension neuter. So what we'll do now is, we'll take another adjectives and we'll try to solve it again. So let's take this one. Magnus, magna, magnum, which means great. Okay, Magnus, magna, magnum. So try to solve this one. So nominative singular of Magnus would be magnus, then the genitive singular magni, dative singular magno, accusative singular magnum, and the ablative magno. When we come to the plural, you will have nominative plural as magni, genitive plural magnorum, dative plural magnis, accusative plural magnos, and ablative plural would be magnis. Any difficulties with this? Okay, let's now go to the feminine. And which declension will it take? First declension. So magna, nominative plural of nominative singular of magna is magna, genitive singular magne, dative singular magne, accusative singular magnam, and ablative singular magna. Plural nominative would be magne, genitive plural magnarum, dative plural magnis, accusative plural magnas, and ablative plural magnis. Let's do the neuter. Now we have magnum, nominative singular. What would be genitive singular? Magni, dative singular magno, accusative singular magnum, and ablative singular magno. Plural of nominative would be magna, genitive plural magnorum, dative plural magnis, accusative plural magna, and ablative plural magnis. Okay, so now we'll just take a few rules which are necessary. So first and foremost, as I told you, in Latin, adjectives follow the noun. For example, in English, if I want to say a good man, okay, so which is the adjective here? Good. Now good precedes the noun in English. In Latin, you would write this as vir bonus. Okay, so we see here that the adjective comes after the noun. Okay, in most of the cases in Latin. Now, if you want to stress that something is very serious, something is very important, only in those cases will the adjective come before the noun. Let's take an example. So if I want to say a run away slave, in this case it would be fugitivus servus. Okay, so word fugitive comes from this. Okay, so fugitivus servus would mean a runaway slave. On the other hand, if we have to say a slave who ran away, in that case you would use servus fugitivus. So in this case, when we are labeling something, we see that the adjective comes before the noun. So these two rules are there, and there's another one when both nouns refer to humans, in that case we see that the adjective is masculine. Okay, by rule. In a sentence, if you have two nouns, okay, which refer to humans, then the adjective is masculine. Let's take an example. Regina et nauta sunt boni, which mean the queen and sailor are good. Now we see here that you will say, we have said that the noun and the adjective should match in gender, in number, and also in case. But as the rule goes, Regina is human, queen is human. What is the meaning of Nauta? Sailor. Sailor also is human. So in this case we say that the adjective is bony. Even though you say that Regina is feminine, Nauta is masculine, we see that because of this rule, since both are referring to humans, it takes the masculine gender. Okay, so keep these three rules in mind and let us solve a small exercise before we move on to once again looking at this. Okay, I'll give a few words and let's try to get the meanings of so using Magnus. Now try to find what would you use for the following. Remember, it can have many forms. You select one and according to that. So let us take Regina first. Okay. So what gender does Regina come under? So Regina is feminine, meaning queen. So now if I want to say the great queen, now let me look at so we found out the gender. What is the number here? It can be singular or plural, right? So let's take, for example, let's consider it as plural. Now in the plural, where does Regina come? Which case? Nominative. Okay. So now let us take a look at feminine. Let us take a look at plural and the nominative. So if I want to say great queens, how would I say? Yes, Regine Magne. Similarly, let us take a look at Templis. Now, what is the gender of Templis? Templis. Okay, Templis comes in which declension? Second declension. Okay, so it can either be. Okay, before that, look in the dictionary. Open. How is it given in the dictionary? So it is given as templum, templi. Now looking at the ending of templum, we know that it is which gender? Neuter. So that is clear. Now is ending in the neuter, where do we find? Plural. So number also is clear. And which case? It can be either dative or ablative. So let's take, for example, I want to say for the great temples. How will this sentence come, or how will the adjective join here? It would be templis magnis. Servus. Look at servus in the dictionary. So, servus in the dictionary, how is it given? Servus, servi. What does this tell us? Which is the gender? Masculine, right? Because it is ending with us. So we know it is masculine. Then what is the number? Singular. And what is the case? Nominative. So if I want to say the great slave, how will I write this? Servus magnus. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll take another adjective and once again decline in all the cases. So let's take fugitivus, fugitiva, fugitivum, which means fugitive. Okay, so take some time and solve this in the masculine, feminine and neuter. Genitive, dative, accusative, fugitivum, and ablative would be fugitivo. Now when we come to the plural, it would be fugitivi, then genitive, fugitivorum, then when it comes to the dative, fugitivis, accusative, fugitivos, and ablative is fugitivis. Any doubts with this? Orum, fugitive orum for the feminine, Elsa. So feminine nominative would be fugitiva, which one? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So fugitiva singular, genitive singular would be fugitive, dative, fugitive, accusative, fugitivam, and ablative, fugitiva. Plural would be fugitive, genitive, fugitivarum, then dative, fugitivis, fugitivas, and fugitivis. Okay, and when it comes to the neuter, Ashish, neuter nominative singular would be fugitivum, genitive singular fugitivi, then fugitivo, accusative fugitivum, and ablative fugitivo. Now when we look at the plural, you would have nominative fugitiva, then genitive fugitivorum, dative fugitivis, accusative fugitiva, and ablative fugitivis. So now what we will do is, last 5 minutes. So let's take the adjectives pulcher, pulchra, pulchrum, which means beautiful, and try to solve the following. Okay, if you all don't finish, you can do it at later, but try to solve this one. So verba, agro, lunam, coronis, naute, ajer, aquilas, and poetarum. So what you are supposed to do here is, just as we did earlier, first identify which is the gender. So when you look in the dictionary, you will either find out based on the endings. If it is ending with us, it is masculine. If it is ending with a, it is feminine. is neuter. Once you have done that, you refer back to your chart and you identify the number, whether it is singular or plural. After that, you look whether it is nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, or ablative. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind is pulcher, pulchra, pulchrum is written as, so pulcher is which is the gender of it? Masculine. It comes under Ajer, Veer in those verbs. Then feminine would be Pulkra and neuter would be Pulkrum. So if you all want, you all can do this full thing first and then look at this, or individually try to guess. But my suggestion would be, make a chart like this of all the three, so then you can easily identify and find out what it is. So what is the adjective for verba, what will be for agro, lunam, coronis, and so on. Yeah, because when we see that it is in the, now when exceptions of the second declension masculine. So we said generally ends with us, but in some cases like Ajer, UER. So in the genitive singular it becomes agri. Okay, then agro, agrum, agro. Okay, so this pulker will follow this rule of the masculine, whereas feminine and neuter are straightforward. Only in the masculine, since it belongs to the second group, there is a slight change. So do this remaining homework.